Woman hears noise underground in woods, stops cold when she realizes what it is. The sound left chills running down her spine and a deep cold pit in her stomach. The forest was vast and she had already wandered so far. If something was out there, would she even be able to find her way back? Another screech rang in her ears. Whatever it was close. Emily adored the forest for two main reasons. First, it was away from humans, mostly the ones that judged her love of goth and other quirky interests. Second, it was a place her mind could roam free. The dark woods were full of stories and a source for unbridled imagination. She had no idea the unforgettable event awaiting her. The plan was simple: spend the day wandering off the beaten path. She would let the stress of the work week melt away and come back with a much-needed wave of rejuvenation. It was only a few steps along the trail, and she could already imagine little fairies or gnomes peeking out from their little houses at her. A faint sound came through the brush. It was a high-pitched shriek, like metal against metal or the old escalator in the rundown mall no one went to anymore. If it was a bird, it was the weirdest bird she had ever heard in her life. Still, curiosity pulled at her feet and she wandered towards the sound. The thrill was high and palatable, like the takeoff of a plane mixed with first-date jitters. She was Emily, the explorer-seeker of strange noises. With each step through the thick underbrush, the sound grew more complex. But something then popped into her head that made her stop dead. It was something she had read on the news. A girl had gone missing a few weeks ago, gone for a walk and never came back. Emily suddenly became very aware of her surroundings. But that was in town, not the forest. So she was okay. Right. Besides, girls don't sound like metal. And now deep guttural rumbling. Emily stood frozen in the middle of the shadowy pine-scented clearing. To anyone, she would look like a witch in her natural surroundings, and that was just fine by her. But the vibrations that crawled along her skin didn't feel normal at all. Fantasy melted away and reality began to set in. There was something out there with her. Every step closer was slow and careful. She held her breath as if the tiniest sound would signal her location and a monster would jump out and snatch her. She thought of the missing girl and decided to do something risky. She cupped her hands to her mouth and called out a clear, loud hello. The forest went still. As if her words had magically put everything to sleep. Fear crept through her bones, and the high of exploration melted into the falling sensation in the first drop of a rollercoaster. Suddenly, a loud echoing boom made her knees buckle. Whatever it was close. Their air smelled of wet earth and decay. The wind sat cold on her skin. But despite the dread, she still felt herself moving forward. Boom and another boom mixed with the squeal of metal. The rumbling turned into a deep growl. Something was out there with her. And it was below her. It would have been enough to make her flee to run away like someone in a horror movie. But, just as she was about to turn, a new sound joined the mix. It was whimpering. Like a hurt animal. She now knew what she had to do. Emily ran through the area until she found the source. There, in the middle of a deep hole of illegally dumped garbage, was a big black dog. Its long fur was matted badly, and she could see the chain had been on it for a long time. The boom was it jumping against sheet metal and the screeches from the rusted car door it was tied to. It wasn't a monster. But whoever had left the dog there was definitely one. She slowly moved towards it and offered the malnourished animal a stream from her water bottle. The growls instantly stopped. It crouched on the ground and whined. There was no question as to what she had to do next. It was a slow process. But through a calm voice and plenty of pats on the head, she was able to lead it out of the forest and to her car. Next was a visit to the vet and a call to the police. Whoever had done this had to pay. When news came back about the dog, she had already made up her mind. There was no one to claim it. But it didn't matter. Emily was already prepared to adopt him. His dark coat and big grin were adorable. The adventuring goth witch had traveled through the mystical forest and found herself a familiar. It was the best walk of her life.